Greetings everyone, and welcome to this episode on COTA's Transit System Redesign. My name is Tape City, and if you don't know who I am in the Columbus area, my name is Chris. Now, the purpose of these episodes is to help get the word out about what COTA is doing on May 1st of this year. And COTA is doing a good job warning everyone. Until I got hurt, they were having automated messages on the buses talking about the changes. I've seen lots and lots of little ads here and there in the newspapers now talking about them. And I forgot what channel briefly mentioned what's happening in May, but one channel already mentioned something. I don't remember if it was 4 or 6 or 10 or Fox. I don't remember. One of them briefly mentioned the service changes recently in the news. Now, if you don't know what the transit system redesign is, it's basically on May 1st of this year, the entire transit system is being redesigned. And in this redesign, there'll be many changes to many existing routes. Some routes will be eliminated altogether. There will be some new routes, and some routes will even get combined into a brand new route. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be going over routes 16, 18, 19, the new 21, the new 25, and I'll also talk about a bus route that may or may not go into service on May 1st. Now, the routes being covered in this video will be the East Long Street Local, the South High Street Local, the Kinney OSU Local, the Arlington Grandview Rush Hour Only Local, and the new Hilliard Rome Crosstown, the new Bryce Road Crosstown, and the 35 Dublin Granville Crosstown, which I don't think is actually going to go into service despite the comparison guide mentioning it several times. Now, in this example here, I have pretty much drawn a simple line and just wrote bus route. So if I highlight a part of the route in green, that means there'll be no changes to the bus route. If I highlight a part of the route in yellow, that means the current bus route will not be servicing this area, but instead a different route will be. And this may also highlight several bus routes servicing that same span. And if I highlight a part of the route in red, or the entire route in red, that means that route is discontinued. And I will say one of the routes in this episode will be discontinued. We will now take a look at the East Long Street Local. And here is what the route looks like today. It basically starts off downtown and travels east on Long Street with a deviation to OSU Hospital East. The bus then goes back on the Long Street and then travels up Nelson Road before turning on to 5th Avenue. When it reaches 5th and Cassady, it turns north onto Cassady Avenue and travels up past Agler Road into a small subdivision. The bus travels through that subdivision before getting back on at Agler Road. The bus then travels east to Stelzer, then turns north onto Stelzer. When the bus reaches Stelzer and Morris Crossing, the bus will turn on to Morris Crossing and then travel through Easton on Morris Crossing and Morris Road before laying over at the Easton Transit Center. Now, in all the routes I am going over in this video, I will not be highlighting any of the downtown alignment because the alignment for downtown buses is going to change. From downtown to Long and Taylor, that part of the route is going to be dropped from the Long Street Local, and instead it will be serviced by the Brighton Mays Local, the number 11. There is no mention of the little deviation to OSU Hospital East. However, I did observe when I went to the ER when I got hurt, I noticed the bus stop said, and if I read the sign correctly, I couldn't see very well, this bus stop is being discontinued. So I'm thinking that this deviation to OSU Hospital East is going to be dropped, but since the bus is going on Taylor Avenue, there shouldn't be too much of a problem. From Long Street and Taylor to Nelson Road and Greenway Avenue, that part of the bus route is being discontinued, and your nearby bus route will be the East Broad Street Local. And from Nelson Road and Greenway Avenue to Cassady and Agler, that part of the route will be dropped from the Long Street Local and instead will be taken over by the Mount Vernon Local. And from Cassady and Agler to Gatewood and Agler, that part of the route is being discontinued. and instead you'll have to utilize the nearby Mount Vernon Local. And from Agler and Gatewood to Morse Crossing and Easton Way, that part of the route will be dropped from the Longstreet Local, and instead you will have to utilize the Mount Vernon Local. And then from Morse Crossing and Easton Way to Morse Crossing and Morse Road, that part of the route will be dropped from the Longstreet Local, and instead you will have to utilize the Morse Road Crosstown. Now from Morse Road and Morse Crossing to Morse and Stelzer, the guide says that part of the route will be serviced by the Dublin Grandview Crosstown, but like I've said at the beginning of the video, I'm not so sure this bus route is going to be put into service on May 1st, so this 35 Dublin Grandview may not actually exist on May 1st, so just a heads up, that might be discontinued technically because of there being no Dublin Grandview Crosstown. And then finally, from Stelzer and Morse to Easton Transit Center, that part of the route is being dropped from the 16, and it will be serviced by the Mount Vernon Local instead. So for anyone wondering what the Longstreet Local is going to look like on May 1st, 2017, unfortunately there will be no East Longstreet Local. This route will be technically discontinued. And it's kind of sad for me to say this because I like the Longstreet Local, because when I had a summer job up at Joanne Fabrics a few years ago, I enjoyed taking the Longstreet bus to and from Easton, especially with the 24-25 series new flyers and how beefy they sounded. Boy, they really flew down Cassady, since not many people got on the bus on Cassady Avenue. So I personally, if the new flyers were still around, I would have been right around happy, but since the new flyers are pretty much gone, the only buses left now are 2520 and 2521, and their time of COTA is pretty much about up. So I'm personally not as upset about this route being discontinued as I would have been if the new flyers were still in COTA's fleet. We will now take a look at the South High Street Local, and here is what the route looks like today. As you can see, it starts off at High and Broad and travels south on High Street before turning off High Street and then turning on to 4th Street for a bit. There is limited service around an urgent care facility before traveling back on to South High Street and continuing on to Great Southern Park and Ride. Now, from downtown to South High and Hanford, that part of the route will still be serviced by the South High Street Local, so there'll be no changes there. From Hanford Street and South High to Hanford and South 4th Street, that part of the route is still going to be there. However, please make note, if you want to travel to somewhere on this little portion of the route, you'll have to take the bus that says South High Street via Parsons, and I'll explain a little more about that in a couple moments. From South 4th and Hanford Street to South 4th and Jenkins Avenue, that part of the route is being discontinued, and your nearby route will be the South High Street, of course. There was no mention about the limited service around this urgent care facility, so I am not 100% sure about what's going to happen to it, but my guess is there'll still be bus service to that urgent care facility either on High Street or 4th Street. And from South High and Jenkins to Great Southern, that part of the bus route is going to be the same, and there'll be no changes there. Now, if you're wondering what's going to happen to the South High Street bus on May 1st, 2017, here's what's going to happen. Its route number will change from 16 to 8, but its name will still be South High Street. And here is what the route will look like. As you can see, it starts off like the normal alignment, but then the route will split off into two branches, with half the buses traveling down the South High Street alignment as we know it today, and the other half traveling down Parsons Avenue. And the reason this is the Parsons Avenue Local is being discontinued, and the two parts of the Parsons Avenue Local are going to be covered by different bus routes. One of them being the number 4 Lockbourne, which is right now the Freebus bus, and then the southern half of this route will be covered by the South High Street Local. So as you can see, there's a big fat red line right up to where the route splits, indicating 15 minutes or better bus service, and both branches of the route are in a smaller blue line, which indicates 30-minute bus service, because all buses, however, will still end at Great Southern Park and Ride. We will now take a look at the Kinney OSU Local, and here is what the route looks like today. It starts off downtown and travels up Neal Avenue to OSU. It will then travel through OSU to get to Olentangy River Road. From there, it will travel to Kenny Road and Bethel Road to get to Carriage Place and Tuttle. Now, from downtown to West 12th Avenue and High Street, that part of the route is being dropped from the Kinney OSU Local and instead will be covered by the Carl Local. From North High Street and West 12th Avenue to North High Street and West Woodruff Avenue, that part of the route is still going to be there. However, I've highlighted it yellow because there's two other routes that are covering that area too. And the routes will be obviously the Kinney Local, but also the North High Street Local and the 2L Limited. Now, in previous videos, I mentioned this as a crosstown because the map showed it looked like it was going to end where the C bus ends. However, it turns out this is going to go all the way to downtown, so it's going to be a limited stop local. From West Woodruff Avenue and North High Street to West Lane Avenue and Olentangy River Road, that part of the route is being discontinued. And your nearby alternative routes will be OSU's Campus Area Bus Service, abbreviated as CABS, which, by the way, is the only place in Central Ohio where you can go catch a ride on a Gillig Phantom. And you might want to do them soon because I think OSU is about to retire the rest of their Phantoms. And, of course, you have the Kinney Local nearby. Now, from Olentangy River Road and Lane Avenue to Bethel and Reeds, that part of the route is going to be the same, so there'll be no changes there. Now, from Bethel and Reeds to McKintrick and Bethel, that part of the route is being discontinued, and your nearby bus route will be Kinney Road Local. And from Bethel and McKintrick Boulevard to Carriage Place, that part of the route is going to be the same as it is now, so there'll be no changes there. From Carriage Place to Tuttle Crossing, that part of the route will be dropped from the Kinney OSU Local and will be covered by the Hilliard-Rome Crosstown. And finally, the Park Center Circle and Nationwide Insurance, that part of the route is being discontinued, and your nearby route will be the Hilliard-Rome Crosstown. Now, on May 1st, the Kinney OSU Local will be renamed the Kinney Local, and its number will change from 18 to 1. And here is what the route looks like. As you can see, part of the route is in a big fat red line, and part of it is in a blue line. The route will start off at High and Broad and travel north Street to Lane Avenue, and then will travel on Lane to Olentangy River Road. The bus will then travel up to the end to about the Tuttle area right now. Now, about half of the route is covered in a red line, which means 15 minutes or better bus service, with a blue line indicating 30 minutes or better from about the halfway point to the end of the bus route. We will now take a look at the Arlington Grandview Local. And here is what the route looks like today. As you can see, this route starts downtown and travels through Grandview and lays over right around where the number 3 does. This route should be known as a rush hour only local. However, back in the early 2000s, this route used to run all day. However, ridership declined on the route and it was eventually cut to only run during rush hour only. Basically, from downtown to Tremont and Wilshire Air Drive, that part of the route is going to stay exactly the same, so there'll be no changes there. Now, from Tremont and Wilshire to Kikowa and Nottingham, that part of the route is being discontinued, and your nearby route will be the Arlington Local. And from Nottingham and Kikowa to Tremont and Wilshire, that part of the route is going to still be there, and there'll be no changes there. If you're wondering what the Arlington Avenue Local is going to look like on May 1st, its name is going to change from Arlington Grandview to Arlington First, and its number will change from 19 to 13. And here is what the route looks like. As you can see, it is a green line and not the standard blue or red line. This green line indicates rush hour only service. However, I am confused about the schedule because the schedule says 13. However, all the express routes are in their 70s for this area. In addition, express fare is $2. And since this schedule has a green number, I'm not sure if this is going to be an express route or still a local route, but I'd be prepared just in case you have to pay express fare to use this particular bus route. In addition, there will also be fewer trips on this route on May 1st. Right now on the old schedule, as it is today, there are 6 trips heading to downtown, most of them in the morning, and 7 trips leaving downtown in the evening. And once May 1st comes around, there will only be 3 trips going downtown in the morning and 3 trips leaving downtown in the evening. So please make note of that. We will now take a look at some of the new routes COTA has already implemented. And we will start off with the Hilliard-Rome Crosstown. Now this route is a new route that was put into service recently ahead of the main changes. And I'll just show you what the route will look like. As you can see, it starts off where the Kinney Road Local will be ending on May 1st, then travel through the end of the Kinney Local as we see it now, for traveling down the west side of Columbus, way past the West Outer Route. It will travel to several park and rides currently serviced by express routes, and it will travel down all the way down to the end of the West Broad Street Local, before traveling on to Sullivan Avenue, and then traveling north on Georgesville before laying over at the Hollywood Casino. The Bryce Road Crosstown has also been implemented already, and it is number 25. As you can see, the Bryce Road Crosstown starts off at Easton Transit Center, travels east on Morris Road before traveling south through Gahanna. It will briefly meet up with the Hamilton Road Crosstown before traveling onward towards Bryce Road. It will meet up with the Broad Street bus right around Mount Carmel East and then travel south to Main Street. It will then travel onto Main Street and then turn down south on Bryce Road before traveling down all the way to the Gender Road Town Center and meet up with the Refugee Local. And finally, there is also a crosstown that is mentioned several times in the comparison chart called Dublin-Grandview. When I first downloaded maps for all the TSR routes, there was a link for the Dublin-Grandview crosstown. However, that link did not work, and it just took me to an error page. COTA has now released bus schedules for all the TSR routes, and there is no mention of a Dublin-Grandview crosstown. So I'm wondering if there will be a Dublin-Grandview crosstown on May 1st, but I'm starting to think there won't be. I think there could be a chance that this route might be implemented after the service changes. However, once again, I don't know, and I'm currently right now unable to ask COTA about this. Now, in the next episode, I will be starting to cover the express routes, and there are a lot of changes to the express routes. Some express routes are going to be combined into new routes, a number of express routes are going to be discontinued, and some are going to be rerouted. So, stay tuned as I start going into the express routes. If you like what you're watching now, please subscribe. I am posting videos as fast as I can, but I'm pretty much hindered right now because I got hurt at work a couple weeks ago and I've been cooped up at home and just have been unable to get these videos out in a timely manner. And I do still have Minecraft and gaming content coming. It's just these videos are taking priority 1 right now because it is almost a month away from May 1st, and I basically got about a month to get these videos out. So, I'm Tape, thanks for watching, and have a nice day.